Hey folks, WVSN behind the scenes here yet again, this time at the Madison Civic Center. Behind us we have the state-bound Scott Skyhawks, on their way to Charleston this week, taking on Cardinal Conference foes, 7 seed, Point Pleasant. Not only an accomplishment to get to the state tournament for the Skyhawks, but to get there as a number 2 seed just shows you how much respect they've earned across the state this past season.
Oh, absolutely. They draw a team, Tony, in Point Pleasant that was a stumbling block late in the season, because Scott went to Point Pleasant and got beat. And, we'll talk with Jason Kingery later, but he felt like his team shouldn't have lost that game.
Right. And they felt they shouldn't have lost that Sissonville game at Sissonville.
That's right.
And in the regional finals game, they came out and they avenged a loss.
Absolutely.
And if anything, that's a good thing for Scott because they brought down to earth against the team that, some people may be like, oh, you got them, worry about the next round.
Right.
Now they'd be like, well, we've lost to this team,
yeah.
No.
They just about looked over Sissonville, Tony, and for 2.5 quarters, you looked at each other, and it just wasn't the same Skyhawks
no,
we were used to
it
seeing.
Wasn't.
So, tip your hat to Sissonville. They came out and really played probably about 2.5 quarters of great basketball. But, it's what you always say. They play 4 quarters,
They
right?
play 4 quarters. That's a total of 32 minutes
Yeah.
in the high school game.
That's right.
So, Scott, unfortunately for them, they were able to play about 2.5 good quarters there,
Right.
superb quarters.
Absolutely,
that when they played well, they were definitely the better team on the court, and that's been the case a lot of times this year. We've gotten pretty familiar with these Skyhawks from preseason interview with the Twin Towers. We'll probably meet with them here after their practice is over as well. But no powder puff schedule at all for the Skyhawks. You cannot accuse them of softening up their schedule to get the record. If you think about it, their losses are against some teams that maybe people should have been like, oh, they overlooked.
Right.
But if you look at their wins, they've already beat a state tournament caliber field, if you ask me, throughout the state.
Yeah, you take out the Point Pleasant and Sissonville loss, and, nothing against those 2 programs, but all the other losses were against legitimate contenders.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just great, Tony, because, I'm a former alumni, and I got to go over and watch the girls' game today. The town of Madison not only had girls, they went to the state championship day. They got beat by Summers County.
Congratulations to them on a great season, by the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was. They run into Summers County. It's the UConn of high school basketball.
Yeah, they're only undefeated for 4 straight years.
Yeah.
So what can you do?
But they put a girls' team and a boys' team in Charleston, and it really all started. We alluded to it in the radio broadcast. Anybody that got to listen to it, when Jason Kingery came back,
Mm-hmm.
it was his number 1 goal was to make Scott a contender every year.
Right. And just another little side note, first time in school history that both the boys and the girls at Scott High School made the state tournament, so a big accomplishment not only for the school, but this is something awesome for this community.
Yeah.
It's a small, tight-knit community. I know this is kind of our backyard here. We're not trying to be homers to all you fans here, but it's hard not to get attached to these boys because Kingery's got, they're so full of respect. I can't think of a team that that's more deserving of a state tournament bid this year. We've had some great teams, but I'd put them right up, these Skyhawks up there with just the rest of them. We've been fortunate to cover some real good boys this year.
Real good basketball. And there's the one thing, Tony, that stands out to me from the 33 games that we covered is they always say defense wins championships. And if that adage is true, you might as well go ahead, and Kingery's going to kill me. Pin the plaque on the wall.
Size up the ring,
that's
baby.
Right, because this team, you'll see it when you get to Charleston. If you get a chance, they play Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. We'll clear it up with Coach in a little bit. But this team will play 4 quarters of pure defense, kind of like Arkansas did back in the day. It was they used to call it, I think it was like 40 minutes of hell.
Yeah,
right. Due to
Nolan Richardson's teams. Yeah,
right. So it's 32 minutes of just to the wall.
Right.
He's bringing 6, 7, 8 bodies at you, and they're in your face. So defense is what the Skyhawks preach.
And what that does for them is that lets them, if they struggle a little bit on the offensive end, their defense literally keeps them in the game.
Absolutely.
And one thing, if you haven't seen these Skyhawks and you're watching this and you're going to go up and watch them at the Civic Center, watch at how much quick their big men get down the floor in transition.
Yeah.
Justin Harmon, 6'7", 230 pounds plus. He's a monster.
Yeah,
you look at him, you're like, no way that guy runs. He beats the 5'2" guards going down the floor.
You're exactly right.
And we've just seen here in practice. You may see him streaking ahead of the in front of the game here, right behind us. He's leading the pack more times than not. And Dave Ward just knows how to give him the ball.
That's right.
Always looking up court. All the players do. Always looking up court.
Well, it helps Dave when he's got the ball and he's bringing the ball up the floor. He's at the top of the key where he's so tall. He's 6'6", Tony. He can see over the defense and he's seeing passing lanes that
he's quite the guard himself.
We've said 1,000 times he's the general, of the offense. But the offense opens up to a whole nother level when Dave Ward has the ball at the top of the key, and Harmon works, constantly got his butt into the man trying to work for position, and you can go back and watch on our videos. You'll see him. He works hard. Great kid, great athleticism. And he is one of the main keys on why they're going to Charleston.
And it's not even really fair to say he's backing up his man. It's more like he's backing up his men. As normally they have a 2-3 collapsing zone on him.
Yeah. Not even fair. I don't even know how many times he got one-on-one situations because it was normally 1-on-2, 1-on-3 because the defense collapsed to him.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, no offense to Cleve Wright, he's going to Hampton, but I mean, out of Oak Hill, I mean, I think he literally has his hands full with Justin Harmon in a one-on-one matchup.
Absolutely. I hope I get to see that matchup.
I hope so too. I think
it's a 1 versus a 2 seed, and that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and it's possible. But first, Scott, they can't look past the Point Pleasant Big Blacks.
That's right.
3 Cardinal Conference teams making it to the AA state tournament. There's only 7-8 teams in the conference, so about 50% of the conference made the field of 8.
Yeah.
That's just an absolute says leaps and bounds for what this Cardinal Conference has accomplished. And it's only a newer conference. It's only been around for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's big time basketball, Tony. When you can have that kind of caliber of a conference, especially in AA. I mean, to me, that kind of rivals the MSAC, right? Because I mean, how many teams does the MSAC have in Charleston?
Yeah, a couple. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So you got to kind of put it right there with, with the Mountain State Athletic Conference, as everybody likes to say. But man, Polka, great team. We got to see.
I mean, the kid win it all.
Yeah, Point Pleasant, Scott. I mean, the field is just so deep, and Oak Hill. When we got to see Cleve Wright, like you said a minute ago. I mean, he's an animal. If you get a chance. The AA state tournament will not be like it has been in years past. It's not watered down, Tony.
Right. You could see probably arguably 2 of the best big men in the state. Yeah. Taekwon Gorda, George Washington.
Right.
We got to give him his credits too. But I mean, 2 at least. Let's number the 3 best big men we've seen this year, and 2 of them are coming out of AA.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot smaller enrollment than what them AAA schools. So it's been a great year for great Southern West Virginia basketball, at least. Now you're going to make, and this is what tournament time's all about. Now you get the northern teams trickling down here from the eastern panhandle, from the northern panhandle. Panhandles everywhere, man. It all comes together at the Civic Center.
It's going to be a good time. That's the state tournament. Just being in that atmosphere, you get packed in there, and if you're fortunate enough to play one of the late games, you normally got just a few people left over from each game that stayed around to watch you, and that for some of these kids, that's probably be the biggest crowds that they've seen, that they've played in front of. And outside of Ward and Harmon, you got to think of what a building block this is for Belcher, Dolan, Schaefer. I mean, them guys are getting valuable experience that Coach Kinger's be able to carry in the next season.
All right, and you got the freshman Cody Brown,
right?
Who's got big we haven't seen him as much here in state tournament, but throughout the season, he ended up having to be a big contributor.
That's right. Yeah, Kinger wasn't afraid to throw him in there either.
No,
some coaches are kind of weary.
He held his own.
Yeah.
I was saying sink or swim. I think he swam well.
That's right. Yeah.
Wasn't no Michael Phelps.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a kid that's going to come out and he's not going to light it up for 30.
Right. And you shouldn't expect it out of your freshman.
That's exactly right. That would be unfair expectations towards Cody.
I mean, there are that rare exception, but I mean, 1 out of a million. Now, are you expecting now if he's LeBron, then
if Cody Brown's 6'8", 6'9", I expect that out of him, but he's not. We hope to see him grow, over the next couple of years as we'll be following the, basketball in AA, AAA, hopefully Tony from, here on out till we're a year old, but special thanks goes to the teams that allowed us in this season,
right?
Because it was real easy. Back in November, Tony, when we were knocking on doors for coaches to go, hey, I don't know you guys.
Yeah, but what are you doing?
Yeah, but they've let us in. We got to cover 30+ games, and special thanks goes to all you guys at this time.
Especially to the guys right behind us. The Skyhawks. Coach Kinger's been. I mean, I'm sure he don't let everybody into his practice, and so that's why we're kind of talking low. We don't want to get too interruptive back there. We got to let him do his thing of shaping his boys' minds and getting them ready for Charleston on Thursday.
I don't want him coming unglued on us over here. He'd be kicking the camera and everything else. It'd be pretty bad.
I like our camera too.
Yeah, I know, man. It's a pretty good one. We can't afford to lose it.
But let's go ahead and just look back this year at what the Skyhawks have accomplished. You know, they started out, close 2-point victory over Tulsa. Dave Ward, 33 points.
Yep.
Then the next game, they got Sissonville here at the Madison Civic Center where we're at right now.
Right.
And
the Coalfield shootout.
Coalfield shootout. Justin Harmon has 35, and that kind of just set the tone right off the bat.
Yep.
Be like, hey, we got 2 players that can drop mid-30s on you on any given night.
Yep.
We are a team that's here to stay. And what people still doubted them, that was until they went down to the EQT Classic down in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, and they had a real good showing down there, and they've actually got invited to go back next year.
Right.
And that's a huge thing. When you go and a tournament committee comes to you and says, hey, Coach, we like you and your program so well, we want to bring you back.
Right. They only take 3 teams out of the whole state of West Virginia.
That's right. So, hats off because, the Skyhawks will be playing that again next year. And then the wins, Tony, just continue to add up as the Skyhawks were a 20-win team this year.
Right.
And, I mean, you look at if you talk to Coach Kingery, he's going to tell you one don't mean any more than another.
Right.
But we were fortunate enough to cover most of their games coming down the stretch.
Right.
And, man, some big-time wins, wasn't it, Tony?
Yeah, we had 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And just in case if you're wondering who that is, number 9 in the state at the time, Bluefield.
Yeah, check.
Last second heroics.
Right.
Next up, number 2 in the state, Wyoming East, who hadn't lost to anybody other than 2 games to Oak Hill, number 1 in the state, and Woodrow Wilson, a AAA MSAC powerhouse.
Check.
Check. Chalk it up, and then they wrapped it up against an undefeated Cardinal Conference team, undefeated in conference that was, the Polka Dots, and they had lost earlier in the year at Polka, and when they came to the Hawks Nest, another late last second, I'm talking about last second, a buzzer beater tip in off of Dave Ward miss by the big man Justin Harmon. So
always just around the ball, isn't he, Tony?
He's just got a nose for it, and he's got, ladies and gentlemen, you have to see this kid's handwork. Nobody 6 arms up there with him, and he'll find a way to come down with the ball with ease. It's crazy.
Yeah, he does. He's so soft around the rim, and we've got to see the development of his footwork. Just what an evolution it's been. Go back and watch one of our first Scott broadcasts, and then go back and watch the last one, and you'll be able to see a huge difference in his drop step ability, I think, is what they call it when you're in the post. But, and that goes... Credit goes to Harmon, and credit goes to the coaching staff. Because they took him under his wing and said, look, you can be an average AA player with your size, but we're going to try to make you a great player.
Right.
And they've had him on the right track, Tony, since December.
No, absolutely. And, I know we keep talking about Justin Harmon, but there is the other twin tower here, too. Yeah. Dave Ward, he's inside, outside, slasher, passer, 9. He's had 2 triple-doubles, not with 10 assists, 10 blocks.
Yeah.
At least.
So athletic. He's just long and he's tall and he's constantly, I think he's got a pretty high basketball IQ too, Tony.
I think he's the first player in high school that I've seen personally, other than when I got to watch LeBron play in Northeast Ohio, that was a potential triple-double threat every single night in high school.
Right.
In college, it's one thing because you got 40 minutes.
Right.
In the NBA, it's even worse than that because you have 46 minutes or whatever that is. In high school, you only got 36 minutes.
Right.
32, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
32, my math's horrible, man. Is that Ohio education coming out?
Public school. Everybody.
I'm from Ohio, man. I'm 0 for 2. But, 32 minutes. So to get triple-double in 32 minutes, what else can you say?
Right.
And they're not a team that averages 90 points a game. They average 50 points a game, and he's still finding a way to average 15, 18 points a game this year.
Well, like you said, he blows up the points. He blows up these are the statistical categories. Right. Points, rebounds, blocks. And then he does assists, steals, turnovers, and in your favorite that we're going to adapt probably next basketball season is the altered shot.
The altered shot. Him and Harmon, if you go into the paint, you can expect to have 2 towering sets of arms. Yeah. Get at least maybe not blocking every time, but getting in their way. Because Harmon averages probably 3-4 blocks a game as well, at least for normal. On more times than not, he'll have 3-4 blocks.
Yeah, I'd say it's a fair average.
He had 4 or 5 against Sissonville. Right. I'd say they each did.
Yeah, he had 4 against Sissonville.
If you're looking for a block party, come to the Scott Skyhawks against Point Pleasant on Thursday.
And the way that they're able to change the game, you get a scorer, a Jason Cuffey that likes to take the ball to the basket. Now, listen, when he leaves his feet, I don't care how athletic you are, you only got so long to let go of the ball. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, if they can hold their hand in your face for just that extra second, due to their height, that's going to change your complete shot. And it's going to throw your timing off just a little bit, and more than likely you're going to miss the shot.
And we saw that down the stretch when Poca lost to Scott. Yeah. Cuffey tried to get it inside a couple times. You have to do a fadeaway off the back off his back foot. And, anybody knows, a lot about basketball, that's not a high percentage shot. That's not what your fadeaway is the last shot you want your players taking.
That's exactly.
And that was from where he got tired of going in and getting his shots blocked and altered. So he thought he'd lean back and shoot over the arms. And in reality, that's still an altered shot.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, because he's interfering with the shooter and his rhythm, his whole view. You obstruct the view of the basket. I don't care how good you are. If you don't see the rim, you can't put it in it.
Right. No, I mean, you're right. You're right on the money right there. Yeah, you got to see it to make it, right?
That's exactly.
You know where the vicinity is, but that's about look for the big white square.
Yeah, you just can't be throwing it up. You got to have a good view of what you're doing, and you go on down the list. If you get away from the two senior studs that the Skyhawks have, you look at the role players Belcher, Dolan, and Mr. Defense himself, Marshall Tully.
Yeah, a fellow senior,
right.
As well. They got Nevin Honeycutt. Most seniors hate not starting.
Right.
But he's the sixth man. He comes in, backs up, Harmon and Ward.
Right.
With Tully and Honeycutt, those are two seniors that know their roles.
Yep.
They're not selfish. They're not, why am I not getting 15, 20 points? Because Tully's done that. They know the opportunity is going to be there to score if they play the system, get it to the big guys, let them kick it back out to them if it's needed.
Well, we've seen Tully. He's got a jump shot.
Yeah.
He's able to make the open shot, and more times than not, Tony, he'll pass on it to get his other team, to stay in the flow of the offense. He's not a player that's going to come down and jack up a quick shot and cause you to lose your rhythm.
Right.
And you got to love him type of players on the floor. Especially, he's a senior, and he brings that type of leadership, and he's got that kind of mentality.
Right, and Scott, they always run the offensive set. Very seldom will you see him come down and take a shot within 3 passes.
Right.
Like the old Hoosiers movie. If you didn't pass the ball 3 times, you were out.
Hoosiers reference, I like that.
We haven't done that all year.
Yeah,
I watched it the other night.
That's amazing.
It was
Netflix.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm in love. I'm in love. We don't get much free time outside of the.
So we just talk to each other like this is how we talk in normal. So
we don't get time throughout the day. We have day jobs. So.
That's right.
But congratulations again to the Scott Skyhawks. An absolute unbelievable season. They had high expectations. I know the community had high expectations. They, and more importantly, to themselves had high expectations.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, and I'm sure Kingery and the boys, if it comes up to it and it comes on it and it comes in their mind, Point Pleasant, that's not the goal.
No.
Quarterfinals is not the goal.
No.
Winning a game in states is not the goal.
No.
Making a state championship is not the goal.
No.
Their goal is to get this.
Yeah.
They're getting that ring.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yeah, they want that parade back from Charleston with the Boone County Sheriffs. They want that. And we're a town that's been kind of title deprived, Tony. There's not. It's why it's called such big excitement.
Right.
Now if we were a perennial powerhouse every year, probably wouldn't be this much excited about it, because you're expected to do
right.
it. But Kingery's trying to get everybody out of this mentality that it's a fairy tale and it's just going to happen now and then. He's wanting to make it happen every year.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know. Second time in 4 years, Scott's going to be in a state tournament.
Right. And I'll tell you what, if they buy into that defensive philosophy, we alluded to earlier, I don't see any reason why they couldn't go to Charleston more and more and more.
Right.
Because they play lockdown defense.
If you can hold a team under 50 points, I don't care what offense you have.
Right.
You have a chance to score more than 50 points in the game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. And we've seen them hold teams to plenty in that. There's a couple of Hoover game when it was like 30-something to 29. I don't know. I made 36-29, I think, was the score of one of them games.
There's a couple of them, like watching paint dry, and everybody says, that may not make for good fan bases or whatnot. Let me tell you what, when you win ball games, people come out and watch you. I don't care if you play the 4-corner offense, you score 15 points a game. You start winning 20 games a year, there's people going to be in the stands.
Right. I've been telling everybody this. My alma mater up at Garaway in Sugar Creek, Ohio, our girls won the district championship by a score of 16-10, so it could be worse.
Barn burner.
26 total points.
Wow.
That's not the first quarter score.
Wow.
That was the final. And that was to go to the Sweet 16, so for all you're like, 40 points is boring, it could be worse. But I don't know. Right now we're kind of pausing. I'm enjoying listening to these boys run up and down behind me better than me.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not us. I don't know that I could run that many.
Yeah, hopefully the agreement was if we came into practice, we didn't have to participate in practice because I'm out.
Yeah. If he starts making me run bleachers, Tony, we're going to tear down the equipment. We're out.
This is over. We're wrapping it up, right? But again, Tony Lane here with John Foster, wvsportsnet.com. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more state tournament preview coverage for the state qualifying number 2 seed in AA bracket, the Scott Skyhawks, coming out of Madison, West Virginia in Boone County on wvsportsnet.com.
Your sports voice of the Valley.